My Bubby, Zichrona Levarcha, was extremely superstitious, and growing up in her family meant it came along with a lot of things, a list of things to do's, like throwing salt over your shoulder for something, I'm not really sure why, pulling your ears if you sneezed and were thinking a bad thought. Does anyone have a family member that makes them do that? Ah, there is one over there, okay. If you forgot something in the house, you had to go back in, sit down, and leave this with the same door, or else it would be very bad, and not starting anything on a Monday, to the degree when my mom was scheduled for a cesarean section for my birth, it was originally on a Monday, and she immediately called the doctor to say it had to be on a Tuesday. We loved her, and we humored her. When it came to Yom Kippur, however, there was no joking with her demand. We left the sanctuary for Yizkor. Not that my brother and I were beating down the door to attend. And until my Zadie died at 69, my mom was not allowed to stay either. We would be tempting the evil eye, as if to say we wanted to be in the club of people whose parents had died, or siblings, or spouses, or chas v'chalila, God forbid, children. The club of memory was exclusive and was not one you wanted to join, though of course, no one has a choice in the matter. But the truth is, no matter how old or young, we are all living with memory, even if we have not faced the death of an immediate loved one or not so loved one. As a child, I knew my grandfather never met his father. Right after my grandfather was born, his father was killed in World War I, fighting for the Polish army. Though I never asked him how he integrated his father's death into his life. My grandfather died when I was 17. It was always part of my understanding of him. And I knew my Zadie's mother had died at the age of 40 when he was 7. And that was a part of the reason his older sisters were so overbearing and protective of him. Some, of course, of the recipes my grandmothers made and now that I make were their mother's recipes, but I never knew my great-grandmother's. The stories that shaped my family were ripe with memories passed down for the love they expressed, for the values they imparted, for the comfort they provided to the brokenhearted that were still alive, and also, of course, the stories passed down sometimes provided a decent amount of humor. And of course, our individual family's story intersected with the story of the Jewish people and the one family member and his wife that didn't make it through the health check at Ellis Island because he had glaucoma. He and his wife were sent back to Russia, never to be heard from again. And so, while I understand my Bubby's Bubba Mises and the minhag, the custom of people leaving the sanctuary for Yizkor, there is no escaping memory, even if we'd like to forget it. We are all part of the Memory Club. Memory is a centerpiece of the journey of Yamim Noraim. One name of Rosh Hashanah is Yom HaZikaron, the Day of Memory. One section of the service of Musaf for Rosh Hashanah is Zichronot, remembrance, recalling all the ways God remembered our ancestors and the covenant. The shofar is meant to awaken God's memory and also carries the memory of the cries of our ancestor Sarah and even our enemies, Sisera's mother. Unetana Tokef speaks of Sefer Zichronot, the book of memories that God opens with everyone's signature. In Eila Ezkara, we will remember the martyrs of our people in history and not so past history. And then there is Yizkor, the service of memory, this precious, if not heart-wrenching time to sit with the memories of our family members, our loved ones, and some more complicated ones, as a part of the spiritual work of the day. In 1991, Rabbi Maggie Weneg delivered a stunning sermon imagining God as a woman who is growing older and who remembers all of her children. God is a woman and she is growing older, yet she remembers everything. On Rosh Hashanah, God sits down at her kitchen table, opens the book of memories, and begins turning the pages. And God remembers. As she turns each page, she smiles, seeing before her, like so many dolls in a department store window, all the beautiful colors of our skin, all the varied shapes and sizes of our bodies. She marvels at our accomplishments, the music we've written, the gardens we have planted, the stories we have told. Then there are the pages she would rather skip, things she wishes she could forget. She remembers the dreams she had for us, dreams we never fulfilled. And she remembers the names, so many names inscribed in the book, names of all the children she has lost through war and famine and earthquake and accident, disease and suicide. And God remembers the many times she sat by a bedside, weeping that she could not halt the process she herself set into motion. On Yom Kippur, God lights candles, one for each of her children, millions of candles, lighting up the night, making it bright as day. Many of us lit candles last night to remember all those close to us that have died. Based on the verse, of course, Ner Adonai Nishmat Adam, the candle of God is the soul of a person. In our home, the candles have expanded since my bubby died 3 years ago. My mom has taken on the responsibility of lighting the ones that my bubby would have lit. And just as God is imagined opening her book, so too do we open the book of our life and memories in this moment and remember, often weeping for what is and what isn't, for who is present and who is absent. But the difference between God as imagined in the tradition is that God remembers everything. V'tizkor kol hanishkachot. God is the one who remembers all forgotten things, and we humans don't. We remember and we forget. I'll invite you to take out your booklet with the poems to page 5. Page 5. The world is filled with remembering and forgetting. Yehuda Amichai. Ha'olam malei zechira v'shichacha, k'mo yam v'yabasha, lifamim hazikaron hu hayabasha hamotzeket v'hakayemet, v'lifamim hazikaron hu hayam shemichase hakol, k'mo b'mabul, v'hashichacha hi yabasha matzila k'mo ararat. The world is filled with remembering and forgetting, as it is with sea and dry land. Sometimes memory is the dry land that is firm and founded, and sometimes memory is the sea that covers everything, like in the flood, and it is forgetting that is the dry land, like Ararat. Whereas liturgy emphasizes memory almost exclusively, Amichai honors that memory and forgetting are a part of our existence, and both actually serve a purpose. Memory can be our greatest anchor, like dry land. It gives us stability and safety. It helps us to know where we stand. It grounds us in a story and history. It gives us a place in the universe. But memory can also overwhelm us and make us feel like we are drowning in sorrow and in pain, in trauma, in torment. Memory can keep us tethered to the past, so tethered to the past that we cannot stand in the present and move forward toward the future. Forgetting helps us sometimes. It helps us let go of memories that could consume us. In the Torah, Ararat, which is referenced in the poem, is the place where Noach and the ark land. It is safety from the flood. It is where they can move out from the storm and begin to build again. Forgetting can sometimes save us from the flood. Umi yizkor, uvamei mishamrim zikaron, bamei mishamrim bichlal ba'olam, mishamrim b'melach uvasukar, b'chom, uvahakvaha, amuka ba'atima muchletet, b'yibush uvachanita, aval shimor hazikaron hatov biyoterhu, l'shamro b'toch hashikha, she'af zechira achat, lo tucha le'olam lachdor l'tocha, ulahafriya et munachat hanetzach shel hazikaron. And who will remember? And by what means do we preserve memory? How do we preserve anything in the world? We preserve with salt and sugar, high heat and deep freeze, with vacuum seal, with drying and embalming. But the best way of preserving memory is to preserve it within forgetting, so that not even a single memory will be able to penetrate and disturb the eternal rest of the memory. We all have these techniques to hold on to things, to preserve memories. I think many of us, I wear jewelry to keep memory. We keep things. We bring out certain plates at certain times of year, all those very tactical and material things that help us remember. We go to certain places to awaken memories. We have all these tactics and techniques to preserve memories so they are unadulterated. But the truth is, remembering itself is a paradox. To keep memories preserved, we actually have to forget them and let them live as they were. All the techniques of preservation that Amichai points to attempt to halt time and keep things as is. But preserved food needs to be defrosted to make it edible. And of course, for all the desire to keep someone who has died looking like they did when they were alive, the only thing preserved is a facade, a shell. Amichai speaks to the dynamism of memory. We learn and grow from remembering. One of the powers of remembering is that memory is a remembering, piecing together memory to work in the present, and choosing how to carry memory forward. In the sharing of memories, we often change them, grant them meaning that wasn't originally part of the story. Sometimes we read ourselves into a story that we weren't even there for. We see that in debates, too, about the life of our candidates. We reconstruct memory. We even often play with memory. Tshuva is intrinsically bound up with memory. Repentance is bound up with memory. We can't return or rebuild or come home without taking stock of what came before us. We open our book of memories with all its pain and anger, gratitude and love, with all the stories we are grasping to hold on to, and the ones we wish we could erase from the page. Sometimes the creative act of remembering and forgetting allows us to find acceptance or healing with a loved one who is still here, or one who is no longer on this earth. Sometimes this act of remembering can allow us to feel as if we stand more firmly on dry land because we can recall how much our loved ones loved us, how they saw us like no other, ways in which we wished we could see ourselves. Sometimes all those that came before us endured hardships and overcame so much adversity that it gives us the strength and resilience to carry on. Sometimes deciding to forget and let go of a memory could be the most liberating. And sometimes some of us work really hard to forget the memory, particularly of someone dying with them. When someone has deteriorated and been sick for many, many months, or someone is present at the death of a loved one, the images that stick with someone in those moments are very hard to forget. And people have to work very, very hard to forget that memory and recapture the story of a person's life rather than the story of their death. Sometimes the rawness of the love and the missing is like a pit or a black hole, and we just need this space to feel it all in the midst of community at this holy time of year and know we are not alone. And of course, the flood of memory flows between two shores, personal and communal. Every time I walk into this sanctuary, I am filled with so many memories of people that were here and where they sat, and teen services, and the experience of my first time on Yamim Noraim was in this space, and for the first time seeing the spiritual leadership walk out in suits, which I had never seen them in. The sense is that we get this flood of community memories, and when we're here all together, they come back to us in so many ways. As I look out in the community, I think of people, some who opened the Ark today, and I think of parents, Phyllis and Sam Shatsky, who came to mind when Gary was opening the Ark. Or, I could go on and on, but then of course I'll forget someone and someone will be mad at me. But it's amazing when you live in community how touched you are by people's lives, and despite years and years, you can still see sitting people in their place, or a moment that someone stood on the bima leading at a teen Shabbat service, or on and on and on. This place, community, we see where people would sit, the people that got married or b'nai mitzvah. And as a community, we too remember and forget. We choose what to carry with us. And for our people this year, it has been quite a flood. We are far from dry land, so many to remember. Who by terror, who by fire, who in battle, who while dancing, who in the rubble of homes, who by starvation, who by heartache. Even though most of us didn't personally know those murdered on October 7th and after, we too are carrying their memories with us this Yizkor. We are also carrying those families who are experiencing such heartbreak and such horror, who are deeply in mourning, and praying at this time that they will receive some measure of comfort, knowing that Jewish communities all around the world are thinking of them. This past week was, of course, the year anniversary of October 7th. And in Israel, of course, there were many memorials as there were here. A number of our friends from Midrasha were at the memorial at Kibbutz Be'eri, which was the kibbutz, of course, in the Otef, that is right near the border, Gaza, who had 102 people murdered there. Our dear friend Guy Tzfoni and his wife, Rabbi Chen Ben Or Tzfoni. Guy grew up on Kibbutz Be'eri, and of course, After October 7th, within the course of a number of weeks, they went to 25 funerals. And Itamar Lapid, who's also another longtime friend of ours, was as well at the ceremony at Berry on October 7th. Itamar posted the words of Noah Yitzhaki, who spoke at the memorial at Berry, and I'd like to share them with you. 102. This unimaginable number threatens to swallow everything, but we know and remember all the time, you bereaved families, each and every one of them. There was a whole world of life that was brutally cut short. Their lives were full and good, and they were smart and funny and caring and optimistic and hungry for life. Their loss has left you missing so much in a way that words struggle to describe, and we sometimes struggle to touch. But we see the lack in your eyes, feel it in your embrace. Know that you get up with it in the morning and go to bed with it at night. We will do everything to remember them as they lived, to preserve their unique character, to give them their rightful place amid the great loss. Among the spaces created by their paths, there are meeting points that are only created in communities like ours. Berry is a kibbutz. Brave bonds between classmates who grew up together like brothers. Deep friendships formed through the years of working relationships, raising children together, close neighborly relationships. In our day-to-day life, most of which has not yet returned to its course, longing for you and the life we used to have floats and rises all the time. For random meetings while walking around the kibbutz, for all-night conversations into the wee hours of the morning, for evening activities in the center, for joint holidays, for debate in committee, for walks on Shabbat. Your permanent table in the dining room is missing. Your seat on the school bus is empty. Your chair and office at work are so empty. We don't stop looking for you in the places where our lives connected, maybe desperate to find remnants of our previous lives from the house that has been changed beyond recognition. This is how a year later the grief and loss map of a total community looks like. 102 gaping spaces connected by thousands of paths and ties that were cut in one of our lives. They leave a void that is greater than the sum of their losses, but also show us the way to continue living, to hold each other, to get up every morning and do at least one small thing that will fill the void, to weave new paths and connections between us that will bridge the gap a little. ויבנו מחדש את הבית הזה, בית ברי. And they shall rebuild this house, the house of Berry. We all have a map of grief and loss, personally and communally, one that we encounter in its fullness today. The weight of the map is sometimes like a flood, and sometimes it is our dry land. Sometimes it is both simultaneously. And we do this holy work in community so that we are not alone in it, so we can hold each other in the void, so we can help each other get up in the morning, so we can continue to live in it, and so we can build again. For thousands of years, our people have remembered to not only look at what came before, but to remember to weave new paths, to build a bridge to the future. And so will we. Traditionally, when you remember people, we say, Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. Noah Yitzhaki concluded his words at the Yizkor at Kibbutz Berry by saying, Im zichram leoram, with their memory for their light. And John Polin, the father of Hirsch Goldberg Polin, said, Zichram lemapecha, may their memories be for a revolution. May they all be true. May our memories be for light. May our memories be for a blessing. And may they be for a revolution.